Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word. We are going through the book of Genesis right now, and today we are going to be going through Genesis. We're starting chapter 13 today. We're going to be reading verses 1 through 4, and it's entitled, Abraham Called on the Name of the Lord. Okay? So the last episodes we had talked about, Abram was in Egypt, and that wasn't in the will of God at all. God never intended for him to go to Egypt and never called him to go to Egypt. But represents, going to Egypt represents the world and being a part of the world instead of God's divine plan. Okay? So let's read today Genesis 13 verses 1 through 4. If you have your Bibles like I do, you can turn there. It says this, So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. From the Negev he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first called on the name of the Lord, and where he had first built an altar to the Lord. There Abraham called on the name of the Lord. Okay? So I'm going to stop there today. What has happened here is Abram has left Egypt, and he's now in the will of God. He never was in the will of God going to Egypt, but now he is in the will of God. And two things you notice there. He leaves Egypt is the first thing. But then when he's out of Egypt and he's following God's plan, he calls on the name of the Lord. Never ever do you see him call on the name of the Lord while he's in Egypt. He's relying on his own wisdom and own flesh, really, okay, and trying to work things out on his own. Never calls out to God. But here he's out of Egypt and he calls on the name of the Lord. And we're like that also. When we're in trouble, and we're being part of the world, we're doing some stupid stuff, we're involved with sexual immorality or drugs or whatever, we're trying to get out of that on our own, okay, and not calling out to God. But because that's not in God's will at all. But when we're following in God's will, that's when we have that relationship to God. And you can see here that he's calling out to God, but he's also building an altar. And we have talked about that in previous episodes. He was an altar builder. And that was just he was showing his love for the Lord. It wasn't a requirement, but it was showing his commitment to the Lord and his honoring God. So he wasn't doing that in Egypt, but he was doing that here. And so the same thing applies to our lives today. When you're out of God's will, the communication with God is not there. But when you're following in God's will, that's when that communication is flowing. And you can see here he's building altars, and he is calling on the name of the Lord. Okay? So just kind of a short episode today. But I just wanted to bring that out, how Abram was calling on the name of the Lord. Thank you for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey through the book of Genesis. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.